Perfect. Any questions at all around practice and building, a cancer practice or pricing, service, like anything around business that you guys want to dive into before I dive into this? We're in the home stretch of this course. Can you believe it? Like you've made it to the final 2 live lessons of the whole thing, which is exciting. Okay, I'm going to assume, just going to double check the time. Yeah, I'm sure Paula will be in here shortly. So to honor you guys, we will get started, and I know she's going to come. Okay, so we are going to talk about the 6-session cancer program, and I'm going to be really honest with you. This was how I kind of was running my practice since in 2012 when this course was written, and I kept this in place for a long time. I've recently changed how I offer programs to clients. So I will share kind of the new updated version with you guys after I go through this, because I think this is still very relevant for your own business, even though I have pivoted a little bit. And part of my pivot was I wanted to create a really great educational experience for clients, in addition to having this personalized guidance. So I'll share that with you. Please feel free to use the chat throughout the entire lesson. And we are recording, so we're good to go. Okay, so we're going to talk about basically different types of, I'm going to go through a 6-week program with you, but there are different types of programs that you can run inside your practice. And how this looks for each of you individually is going to be very different than one another. So active cancer programs in my practice, these are people who are currently navigating a cancer diagnosis, whether they've just been diagnosed and they're just getting on their path of whatever that's going to be for them, or they're in the middle of cancer treatments and they're realizing that they need some they need some health support in place, or they're just finishing up their cancer treatments, and part of their goal is that they, once their treatments are done, they want to do things to heal and repair their body. So those are 3 common reasons that clients will come in, and I would consider that still all of those an active diagnosis. The hardest cases to get are the ones where they come in completely beat up, and they've been told that there's nothing else anyone can do for them. They've gone through many treatments and their bodies are just destroyed. And those are the most difficult cases to deal with. The outcomes are not usually very positive, but there's still positive benefits like quality of life extension. But those are the hardest ones that I deal with in my practice. They've done everything. Everyone said, there's no hope now. There's nothing else we can do for you. Go home and, live out your days. And then they come to me hoping that I can, obviously offer some assistance. The challenge with that is a broken body is really hard. I always say to clients, it's a lot easier to catch you while you're falling than pick you up off the floor. Right. So that is tough. Post-cancer. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Sorry. So is this anywhere in our notebook, or should we just be writing this down?
I would write it down. Yeah, I would write it down.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking. So post-cancer is like somebody who's coming into your practice and everything's done, everything's clear. They're kind of just on that healing path. And really, that's where you're going to think about your cancer prevention strategies, because we want to do things that are going to prevent reoccurrence. We want to educate them about, that disease requires an environment to grow and develop in. And then preventative programs are like the discussion we just had. And I love running preventative programs on the corporate level. So I've gone into big corporations and ran challenges and stuff that really are. And I think at the end of this slide deck, I have an example. I also have an image I can pull up as well. Okay, so in the succession appointment, there's a session, there's the initial appointment, and this is where you're going to do your initial assessments. Now, for many years, I did the intake and assessment. I called it a nutritional assessment, separate from the purchase of a program. So you can do it as the first appointment, or you can do it, separately. So I always did the nutritional assessment. If somebody wanted to work with me, they had for years. This isn't what's in place now. But they would do the nutritional assessment. In that nutritional assessment, I would get that health history, that profile. And then I would decide if they were a case I wanted to take on. And they would get to decide whether I was a practitioner that they wanted to work with. And included in that nutritional assessment was a full set of recommendations. So we would do the intake, get all the information. I would talk to them about the strategies that need to be in place. I would type them up a set of recommendations. I would go through those recommendations with them. And in those recommendations, if I wanted to, I would sell them a program. I never work with clients one-on-one, pay for by appointment, because when I first launched my practice, and I think I don't know if I share this in the business course, I would book a full day of appointments, put my kids in daycare, commute to the clinical office that I was in, and then I would have cancellations all day, and then I was out the money for the day. And it used to drive me nuts. So now if you want, and forever now, if you want to work with me, you would do the nutritional assessment. I would offer you a program after that, and you would decide whether or not you wanted to move forward in the program with me. If you did not want to pre-purchase a program, we didn't work together. And almost very, very few people would say no to that second step. And the nice thing is because they prepaid in a package for their appointments, my clients still do this. If they no-show me, they cancel, they drop out, they stop doing it, I still got paid. Like my business didn't suffer as a result. So first initial assessment is going to include that consult, the recommendations, an outline of a program, and a follow-up call to go through the recommendations. So if I was in one-on-one face-to-face practice, I would do this all in person. Now I do this 100% online. 100% of my practice is online, which is fantastic. Gives us an opportunity to see if we're a good fit. Okay, so that's the initial assessment. Then we go into gives your client some initial steps to implement as well, so that they feel like their time was well spent with you. So then we go into the actual assessment program. So they've said, yes, Alyssa, based on this nutritional assessment, based on this information you shared with me, I want to do this program with you. And that program was 6 sessions. Okay, it's actually still 6 sessions. So follow up to the assessment. So we'll talk about what they were able to implement, things on their recommendations. We might add another layer. So I've already kind of like started working with them, but they have just committed to the program. Excuse me, I gotta clear my throat. I ate my salad too fast. I will encourage them to build a cancer resource binder. When I was in one-on-one practice, I used to build these binders for my clients. So when they bought their package appointment, they would get like a binder, and it had little sections, like a section for their labs, a section for their diet, a section for their meal plans, a section for their supplements. And I would get them to actively participate, collect all their labs, bring them with them. They would often bring their binders with them to their doctor's appointments. And it just gave them this sense of control and like they were doing a good job. Now I send them files. So when my clients enroll, they get an online portal, and in that online portal, I talk to them about building their binder. I give them pages that they can download and use in that. Meal plan or dietary action. So some clients want to be told what to do. I don't know if you guys have anyone, they're like, oh, just tell me what to do. I don't want to think about it. I just want to be told. Others want outlines or ideas. So it kind of depends on the client. All of my clients now currently get 12 weeks of meal plans, and then we'll customize those to the client, or we'll pick and choose depending on how well they're doing. In this, we'll start to go through their supplement protocol. So I'll go through all of the supplements, all of the supplements that currently fit their profile. And we'll start getting started with a couple. So they know, here's the ones that fit me. What ones do you want to get started with? Explaining how they benefit them. Again, they might want to do all of the supplements at first. And I'll say, let's get started with a few. And the next appointment, we'll add a few more. It's not that I don't want to sell them the products. It's that I want to help them be aware of how these products are benefiting them. So for example, I just had a client, she's an Ironman athlete in her 60s, and she came because of her muscle pain and restless legs. So we just did magnesium just to see how that would help her. And now we're doing electrolytes and some trace minerals and stuff. Importance of creating space for healing. All right, that where they're going to read, what being aware of what they're going to read, watch, creating that opportunity, what that rest routine is going to look like, what that food prep. They're navigating a cancer diagnosis. They need to understand that they need to create a routine that's going to help their body heal. I usually recommend no news, no horror movies, no thriller books, to read things. Chicken Soup for the Soul has a great cancer recovery stories, like read stories of recovery, watch documentaries on healing, watch, comedies and things that are just going to keep you feeling good in your body. And again, any questions, feel free to post. And then we'll discuss the type of support that they have around them. So who can help, what can they delegate? I'll ask them what kind of support they want from me. You'll be surprised how different your clients' expectations are. I used to just think, okay, this is the routine I'm putting all my clients through. Some clients want to see you once a month. Some want to see you weekly. Some want to come every other week. Some, so it's really talking about that support system. How can I support you? Who are other people that are going to support you? Do you need to have a psychotherapist in place? Do you need massage therapists in place? Do you need a chiropractor, a naturopath? Like, what is the support? And then who in your life is supporting you? And what are the things that you can delegate or ask for help with? That's a really important, because you want to follow up on that discussion on your next session. Okay, session 2, usually 1 to 2 weeks later. Very first thing, like Melanie said, I'm just listening. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Tell me what's happened. I'll ask if they've had any medical treatments, any labs that are updated, any appointments. It just kind of depends. That's one of my first questions, is like, tell me, has there been any updates that I need to be aware of? But what I'm trying to hear is where they're at in their headspace mentally with where they're at. Are they feeling overwhelmed? Are they feeling supported? Are they feeling confident? Are they feeling hopeful? I'm really trying to figure out, so that in that session together, I can really find the best ways to help them move forward. I'll ask if there's any concerns in blood work or other labs. Most of my clients send me their labs before the appointment. So that's a good habit to get into, so that I know going in, oh, look at these white counts are still within range, but they declined substantially from our last appointment, or the platelets are declining. I'll assess the steps from the previous appointment to see what's working. We'll discuss what they were able to implement, what they weren't able to implement. If I have someone who comes in and nothing was implemented, we stay 100% with the last session's recommendations. I'm just going to reinforce those and help them with those. And then I make any adjustments as needed. Usually at that point, I'll try to get them through to something else, like add another layer or two. But again, that's going to depend on the client. So then I also will hand them a pH journal recording. So I'll get them to either record their pH or their foods. Usually I don't make them do it 7 days a week. Okay, I'm not looking to add anything, but I am interested to see where their pH range is over 3 days. And I am interested to see where their calories are. Is there times that they're typically eating refined foods? Where are they struggling? I want to just have a quick kind of bird's eye view before the next appointment. And then I'll discuss some dietary guidelines. So if they're following a meal plan, if I've given them an outline, if we're eating more certain foods, that could be as simple as, we're going to add a green smoothie, right? Just depending on the client. Okay. Moving forward, number 3, same thing, ask, listen, see how they're feeling. Please I usually allot a good 10 minutes for this. Just listening, because sometimes they come in and they're just or we get on a call and it's just, you can tell they've rushed into it, or they've got so much other stuff happening. So I try to just chit chat. How are things? What's happening? Anything new? I'm really just trying to get them to relax and feel at peace in their appointment. And you'll find with different clients, there's different ways to do that. But remember, this is about them feeling seen and heard, and you understanding and listening, trying to pick up on things that can benefit them. I'll adjust the diet and the supplements. I'll discuss the role nutrition plays in supporting the ability to support the body's natural ability to heal and repair. I might encourage them to watch some documentaries. I love the Forks Over Knives documentary. I'll discuss with them different types of diets and how they work, like Gerson, plant-based, juicing, and we'll talk about what fits their profile. So I'm really always trying to educate them. Like I said, I changed it a little bit, so I'll share with you those changes at the end, but this is a big part of what I do. I tell all my clients, by the end of our program, you shouldn't need me. right? You can want me and I can hang out. We can keep working together, but you shouldn't need me by the time we're done. Number 4 is usually 3 to 4 weeks. So the first few appointments generally are weekly. As I'm getting things implemented, I'm getting them to kind of get routine. We're getting them supported. We're building that foundation, right? Like think of it that way. Like tell your clients the first few appointments, we're getting the foundation in place. And then typically it's like, okay, let's check in 3 weeks. Let's just keep this stuff in place. And let's check in, even in a month. We'll get updates, condition labs. I always tell them to text me or email me if there's something dramatic that happens, like if they get a delay in chemo or something like that because their labs aren't good, then we can definitely chat sooner. I'll ask them how they're doing with their dietary. We'll discuss the mind-body model of recovery and development and mind-body model of cancer development or recovery. So if we haven't had a chance yet, we'll discuss those things. We'll talk about the power of positive thinking and how much that impacts recovery and how important having hope is. We'll talk about spiritual support systems. What's interesting is on my intakes, one of my questions is spiritual health important to you? And almost everybody checks no. It's mind-blowing. Even my faith-based clients feel like it doesn't impact their health. They've just disconnected from this idea that it impacts their health. So obviously their spiritual connection, whatever that is going to have a tremendous impact on how they navigate life, right? What they believe about what is possible. So I think it's important to have those conversations. For my non-faith-based people, I love using Louise Hay. Heal Your Body is one of my favorite books. Because she actually helps them learn how their thoughts actually turn or manifest into disease. For my faith-based friends, I usually will recommend a good Christian author on healing. So I'm trying to always match what their beliefs are. But yeah, it's amazing. I'm always so blown away. Like, is your spiritual health important to you? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, it's so crazy. So adjust supplements and diet. And then I will usually start to, if I haven't already, talk to them about meditation, deep breathing for sure. I'll talk to them about fight or flight, recognizing when their body's in it, taking times to take their body out of it. And sharing some strategy. I use the Insight Timer, which is a free app. There's a paid version and a free version. I've had it for like 7 years for free. And it's a great meditation tool. It's got guided meditation, music, it's got timers. And I teach them how to use the timer, just for 5 minutes of just being present, just breathing, focusing on their body. And it's amazing how quickly they will benefit from that. Okay, fifth session is usually about a month later. Again, follow up on labs. I'm looking for any dramatic changes. I'm trying to keep them healthy. What I do find is my clients who really do well with their nutritional therapy have significantly less delays in treatments, and they also have fewer side effects. So it really is like oftentimes when their nutrition is really good and they're doing well, you're going to find that there's not a lot to address in labs. Now, it obviously depends on the treatments that they're going through. My new client is going through 5 weeks of chemo and radiation at the same time. So I will be amazed if she makes it through without delays. Like it is just, but there's a potential with good nutrition. Adjust the diet and supplements. Adjusting diet and supplements might be like certain things were only for temporary use. Like for example, if they had some burning in their digestive tract and you use something like a DGL, right? Like a deglycerized licorice, you might not have to keep using that. Or maybe they need a better probiotic or a different probiotic, or they need a different digestive enzyme, or you have to up the amount of whole food supplements that they're using, or their labs are looking kind of crummy. So you're going to put a reishi powder in there, or you're going to put a wheatgrass powder. We're going to use any of the supplements that we've discussed in the course. I will, if I haven't had a chance, talk to them about toxins. So we'll talk about home products, body care, chemicals on their food. We'll touch on mindset again, how important it is to have that positive outlook, and then we'll discuss what happens after session 6. So we're second last appointment. It's important as you get there to say, okay, next appointment is our last appointment, because oftentimes we become very important people to them. We are a source of strength. We are a source of support. And it's important for us to be able to just understand that they have a relationship with us and that they're counting on us. And we don't want them to feel like it's done, right? So the sixth session is really kind of the same thing: listening, checking if there's any updates, talking to them about how they feel about moving forward. And that's really where you want to be like, and sometimes with some clients, I'll give them options on the fifth session that they can let me know about on the sixth session. For some clients, I don't need to have this discussion with them to the sixth. I'm usually by the sixth session, because the first few appointments are weekly and then we go to 3 to 4 weeks. This is several months down the road, right? You've been with your client for months. So I think that's, it's a good time to be like, okay, what does support look like in the future for you? And if they want to have monthly appointments, then you can talk to them about what that would look like. Maybe they would prepay for a few. So, okay, let's schedule, here's my rate for 4 monthly appointments. Let's get that booked in. And then you can use those at your convenience, or you can do pay as you go at that point. So whatever it feels. So let me explain my programs now, and then I want to make sure that you guys don't have any questions. So one of the things I realize, and I'm sure if you've been in practice for a while, you'll feel this too, that I have the same conversations over and over and over and over. So what I wanted to do was build kind of an online tool that talked about all of those things. So I built lessons, I video recorded, I had slides of the top things that I teach in my practice over and over, or that I feel every client should know. So now my programs are a 12-week program. Most clients are actually with me for about 6 months because, I got the same 6 appointments, but we spread them out. But they also have access now to an online portal that has the health education. So I can actually send them each week to go and do parts of lessons from there, which has worked really well for my clients because it's keeping them engaged between appointments. Having kind of that, it's like what you listen to and what you surround yourself with is what you think about most often. So having that. So I've built, I think there's about 9 lessons in there now. One section is all on holistic living. So what a holistic lifestyle actually is, how to reduce chemicals and toxins. There's lessons, there's handouts. I've, kind of built this one piece at a time. And then the other one is a 6-week nutrition program that talks about everything from macros to micros to meal planning to nutrition for hormones, and has all kinds of additional. So some clients will do that program, the online learning, right alongside their appointments. Others will wait until their appointments are done, and then they have the online tools that they will continue to follow through. And then I just kind of have follow-up packages depending on the client. Some of them I check in with every 6 months. Like, it's not, my fee for my 12-week program is $11.97, so just under $1,200. And I set a target of 8 to 10 new clients a month, which I easily hit. Once I hit my 10, I usually put a hold on taking new clients, and I let people know that there is a hold. And then as soon as somebody starts to finish up, I can take a lot more, but I run a couple different businesses. So like in the nutrition field, so I try to make sure that I'm not feeling overtaxed and that I'm fresh. And then clients on the wait list come in time of that they show up, or based on severity. If somebody's really sick, I get them right in and get them right started. But it's very profitable and it doesn't overwhelm me. And my clients love having access to the online portal in between. Now, there's lots of different websites that you can use. Thinkific is one that's relatively low cost. There's all kinds of online course platforms that you can run. I use Kajabi. It's a little bit more expensive than most. I tried ClickFunnels. I didn't like it. I tried it for 3 years. Kajabi is a little bit more expensive, but it does all my email marketing, houses my website, and also holds all my courses. So I like that it's all, again, it's about $2,000 a year US, which for Canadians is a lot. But yeah, so any questions based on running programs? Okay, so this is an example of a corporate challenge that I ran around cancer prevention. So we had a casino approach us. They had 2,700 employees, and they said, we want to run a challenge and awareness around cancer prevention. So we made this checklist, and everybody got a copy in a folder with some tools and some tips and some handouts. And then because when you are at a casino, people's days off are different and they all work different shifts. Over a couple of days, I went in for different shifts and did a live class. And when they attended the class, they got the folder. And if they participated, there was prizes that I had convinced the casino to put out for employees for participation. So in the class, I talked about how all of these things like eating organic foods or choosing low glycemic or what brassicas were, eating high potassium foods, raw fruits and veg, vegetarian meal movement. I used my supplements in there, what they wanted to avoid. So I taught on each of these. And then their job was to go through the week and do a checklist with that. And then they would hand it into their supervisor. And then they would tally up people's scores. They had teams that were working. It was awesome. So this is just a really simple way to show you how you can bring cancer prevention into like a corporate level. I've run this as small groups. It's very, very simple, but it works very well and it's super fun and people love to be able to check a box by the end of the day. So that is that. Any questions before I move on to this case study and wrap up our weekend? No? Okay, so we are I'm going to read you guys. This is actually my client's file. So I'm going to read to you guys this case study. I'll ask you some questions. So pay attention so that you can participate. I just got to joke where I made the notes. This is a really cool case. So with cases like this, I have an assistant who helps me manage my practice, and she does a lot of answering questions, directing people towards things so that I can focus on my clients. And she also does interviews with clients during the process or after the process to kind of document their journey with them, which is really fun. It was an idea that a friend of mine who's a real estate agent was like, you really should be interviewing people along their journey. And we use that at different stages. Like even if somebody is terminal, we're using that as a way to kind of like share with other people that might be in similar situations. Okay. So grab your pen and paper because I want you to kind of take notes as we go along. So I'm going to ask you questions. Okay. So this client came to me in November 2021. She's 47, female, 5'2", 128 pounds. She sent me a message to book a call, and she told me on the call that my very first call with her that she had a lump in her breast that had been growing steadily for 8 months, and she had hard lymph nodes around it. She previously had breast cancer. I think it was about 9 years prior, and she had surgery for that first diagnosis to remove the tumor, which was estrogen positive. She had an absolutely horrible experience with her oncologist, who was she just wanted to have the surgery and kind of be followed up. And they were very high pressure. That she spent most of that first call kind of reliving. Like I could tell she had some PTSD around some challenges she had with that oncologist specifically. And she was actually, even though she had the lump there, she was terrified to pursue a diagnosis because she was really worried about what that doctor was going to say or how she was going to be treated or that sort of thing. So they had done a 6-month post-op with her first cancer post-surgery, and they had not found any cancer in that post-op. So she was quite confident to just follow, plant-based lifestyle, did her own research, never saw a practitioner. At the time that she had called me, she had a 4-year-old daughter. She does have a history of PCOS and was currently having very bad, very heavy periods with pretty severe blood clots. So as a practitioner, what alarm bells, what are you immediately thinking about this client? just unmute and let me know.
I think if she's got heavy periods, blood clots, I'd be running a 5-thyroid panel and doing an adrenal test to check her endocrine system.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Who else? What else kind of like, what stands out? Definitely endocrine. We're definitely in the hormone area. What is standing out for you guys? Anyone else?
Likely some estrogen imbalance.
Yeah, that was my first. Yeah. So she's got history of estrogen positive breast cancer, history of PCOS, heavy periods, blood clots. Right there, I know she's estrogen dominant. Now, with estrogen dominance, there's kind of two probable things that are happening, I find. One is it's environmental lifestyle, right? So a lot of pesticides, a lot of processed sugars, like there's just a lot of things like constipated, like just not taking good care of her body. I knew this was not her case. The other is kind of that genetic predisposition. It's like where we see the family history of all the aunts had breast cancer, or all the women had hysterectomies for heavy periods. And that's because estrogen can go down two pathways in our body, right? A good pathway and a bad pathway. And genetically, some of us don't, in my family, we don't metabolize estrogen well. So everybody has estrogen dominant conditions. So there's things that we have to do, like using brassicas and I3C and indoles, things that are going to send that estrogen down the right pathway. A book that really explains it well, this is my favorite breast cancer book. So it's called The Complete Natural Medicine Guide to Breast Cancer. And it's written by Dr. Satdharm Kaur. She's a Canadian naturopathic doctor who specializes in breast cancer. I give this book to clients. I think every woman should read this. And she actually talks about those estrogen pathways in there. So right away, I'm like, ooh, estrogen dominant. And the challenge with estrogen-based cancers is they tend to grow quickly, right? We see a little bit more aggressiveness. Okay. So moving on, she's been vegan for 7 years, dairy-free for 4 years. So obviously not totally vegan for 7, but as far as she was concerned, I'm writing what she told me. One of the reasons that she called me is because she had rapid weight loss from 160 to 128 pretty much overnight. So right away, that's concerning. Like I need to get ahead of that. She does believe her cancer is back. So I know she's aware. She's got severe stomach pain when eating. She gets nausea, upset stomach, heartburn, and can only eat a couple bites before she's sick. Supplements, she's on D, zinc, and calcium, and that's it. They had a lot of stress over COVID, so we're now a good year into COVID. And her husband lost his job because he wouldn't get vaccinated. So now they've also lost income. She doesn't sleep well, says she hasn't slept well in years, has really high anxiety, tries to eat clean foods, did see a naturopath, didn't feel like anything changed. Okay, so that's profile. Anything else? Feel like a flag? Other than the weight loss, estrogen dominance, obviously getting a hormone panel is crucial. Okay. So we discussed getting her started. I am a practitioner who loves diagnostics. Give me all the diagnostics, tell me all about what's happening, because I just find that it makes my job a lot easier. Lynn's a little bit more conservative. I'm a little bit more like, let's just go do it. So we had a really long, once she decided on a program, and I said, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Like if you go with medical or not, it's up to you. But on that first appointment, I encouraged her to get diagnostics, and we really dove into that. And I reminded her that she was in charge, like she was in control of that situation, but that in order for me to serve her at the best of my level, I have to understand what's actually going on here. Okay. So her husband was really happy that I said that to her, because he had been trying to get her to the hospital, and they had agreed on seeing me. Versus going to Emerge, or going for diagnostics. So November was when she started. By December 22nd, she ended up in Emerge with chest pain. Kind of told the doctor in Emerge what was happening. They did a CAT scan and an X-ray, and she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast and spine cancer. So it was in the meninges of the back of her brain. She was given 4 to 6 weeks to live. She was actually denied any sort of treatment because she was terminal. They told her surgery was not an option. And they did give her some estrogen hormone blockers to try to kind of slow, because it was such a kind of out of control hormone-based cancer. So she comes to me with that, and I said to her, well, what do you think about that? And she goes, I think I'm going to beat it. And I'm like, well, let's work on it. So the recommendations, because remember her stomach issue, I couldn't get much food into her without her being sick. I did end up solving that. I'm just going to go back through the notes here because I want to go back to that. Yes, that's right. So we had started her on enzymes. I'm just going back to the actual notes. So we had started her on enzymes, and I got her juicing, and I had her building up her tolerance to flax oil in the juice to try to get some calories into her. We were doing protein ball type things with coconut oil to try to get, again, just like anything she could just take a little bite of, and that would give her like a heavy dose of calories. We started her on B17 and enzymes. And I started to get her to eat every 2 hours. So I knew I couldn't get a lot of food into her without her being sick. So what I wanted to do was get little bits of food into her as often as I could. And I was getting her to drink a lot of her calories. So she was basically on a soup, stew, and smoothie protocol. So anything that was already blended, cooked, that was kind of what she was doing. Did start her on I3C. And she wanted to add in SEAC. So that's a heavy duty, no cancer treatment. We're juicing, we're using bone broth, we're using flax oil for calories. We've got her on B17, got her on enzymes, I3C, and SEAC. Like we're kind of dosing those throughout the day. When she came back, which was not long after, there was after that, so we put her on that for a bit. That was Feb 10th. By Jan 13th, there was no more vomiting. She was able to eat small meals. They decided not to remove her ovaries. She found that cream-based things were problematic, so she wasn't able to, which we didn't want her having dairy anyways. And then, yeah, that was pretty much it. So oatmeal was her friend. But I think it was just because it was like a little bit heavier to kind of sit in her gut. I'm just reading through her actual notes here. Her period had started to come, but it was now lighter. She wasn't hemorrhaging. There was no blood clots. So I knew the I3C was starting to work well for her there as well. She was drinking a lot of shakes. I was using plant-based just to try to get calories. She was using flax oil, and her weight was up to 127. So we had put a pound on, which is awesome when you have somebody who can't eat. Okay. She started to notice some pain in her arm. Her digestion was good. And I actually recommended at that time some arnica. I was a little concerned about some of the aches and pains she was sharing. So I thought, let's do something gentle. We kept everything in place. So the juicing, the bone broth, the flax oil, the B12, the enzymes, the I3C, and the SEAC, and then we added in some arnica. Okay, so that went on all summer. So that was January. Then we went into March. She had then been diagnosed with cancer in her brain. The doctor said, "You're still alive." Could you imagine? Her bowels were moving, which was great. She was sleeping okay. Lymph nodes she felt were shrinking to the touch. She had started to add frankincense topically as well. We started to add a lot of greens. So with this client, once she was eating and able to tolerate food, we had to keep on a fairly consistent eating schedule. Like she was eating every 2 hours. We started to add in things like chlorella. I just kind of felt like sometimes intuitively you'll think of things for your clients, and it's a good fit. She loved that. We added in wheatgrass. We were juicing beets. She was still doing the apricot kernels for the B17. We added in reishi mushrooms. So when the body is trying to heal from things, we want the immune system to be functioning optimally. And reishi mushroom is actually really, really good. So because she wasn't doing medical treatments, I was able to keep layering on these things for her. That took us through the spring. In the spring, the only thing that she added, so she had a CAT scan that was noticing some changes in April, and she had added in CBD oil with THC to sleep, to continue to help with her sleep. So I think of like the estrogen imbalance, the not sleeping well, not being able to fuel her body well, so she's lacking key nutrients. Like all of these things were the perfect storm for the cancer that existed in her body, which allowed it to spread. We are now, she started getting sick in late spring. So just colds and flus, which is an indication that the immune system is struggling still. If they're catching back-to-back colds and flus, so I got her to start using a neti pot. We increased her reishi. We talked about possibly doing some more immune support. We're into June. She's up the wheatgrass. Her weight is up 2 more pounds. She's eating regular. She's not feeling hungry. No stomach issues at all. So the stomach, I was actually concerned that the cancer was in her stomach, which was why she was having those symptoms, but it was not in her stomach at all. MRI July 4th. So remember, this is now November to July. She was only supposed to live a few weeks. July 4th, the spot in brain is gone. And the spots in her meninges at the back of her brain are decreasing. She was drinking more wheatgrass. Her weight was up. Breakfast was oatmeal. Then she would juice. Then she would make a smoothie. Then she would have some bone broth. She had a Juice Plus, chlorella, apricot kernels, reishi, vitamin D, wheatgrass, arnica. I had her go to an osteopath because the aches and pains in her body were really like, I was interpreting it as like inflammation. But I love osteopathic care. Like, I just think like getting the body all aligned and working. Okay, so that is August 10th. August 21st, she had another scan. So we're almost a year. And she has 0 tumors in her brain, none in her meninges. The breast tumor was decreased, the lymph nodes, they couldn't see them as a problem anymore. And she said to me, I actually feel fully recovered. And then my last appointment with her, I've talked to her since, was September. And at that point, they deemed her completely cancer-free. Isn't that awesome? So I think there's a lot, like, I love that case because there's just so much in that. Fear of treatment, ignored what she knew was going on for so long, history of estrogen dominant condition, highly stressed, not sleeping, not eating, right? Being told she had weeks to live, having a doctor say to scan, oh, you're still alive? Like, are you kidding me? And just staying the course. She stayed on program very strictly. She stayed on top of her supplements. She stayed on top of her nutrition. They took it very seriously, and now she is fully in remission. It's been a year since then, and she's still 100% in remission. So she will be on I3C for life. Okay, just because I know she's clearly not doing well with estrogen on her own. We recommended Essiac. We talked about doing Essiac seasonally just to kind of do that detox. As far as I know, she's still on the Juice Plus and the reishi, just keeping that immune system high functioning. And that's pretty much it. So any questions on that case? Sorry for reading back and forth. I need to like just write it all out.
Alisa, I'm not familiar with I3C. What is that?
So it's indole 3-carbinol, and it's a compound found in brassicas that actually sends estrogen down the right pathway in the liver to be properly metabolized. So with women who have estrogen dominant conditions, so what medicine does is, if I go to my doctor and I've got heavy periods and I've got, say, polycystic ovaries or endometriosis or polycystic breast, what they give me is progesterone. So my estrogen is high and causing these symptoms. So they treat it by giving me more progesterone with the idea that, balancing it out, but it's more hormone poisoning, right? Really what we should be doing as practitioners is going, well, why is the estrogen high? Like, why is she not breaking it down and eliminating it? Now, if there's chronic constipation, there's a good indication right there, because excess estrogen goes into the bowel. So I usually will ask about family history or personal history. And if they have these estrogen dominant, then I use I3C. There's good estrogen formulas out there that are a combination of I3C and indoles and things that support that as well. So that is fine. But my typical go-to is I3C.
Thank you.
When you
Any
talk
other questions?
about diagnostics, are you doing blood labs? Are you using Dutch test? Are you hoping the doctor will do them so it's not out of pocket?
So my go-to first and foremost is always whatever we can get done through the doctor. If I can reduce costs and do it that way, it's not always the same, but my preference is, yeah, let's keep it affordable. So blood work regularly for sure. And sometimes they have to find that support person in their medical team that will do it regularly. For her, she ended up having a lot of CAT scans and stuff. So there was that, because they were just kind of amazed, and they kept, every 3 months or so, she was going in for another one. That's not super common. Like, sometimes they have to fight for a rescan. I don't like the effects of a CAT scan, but I love CAT scans to let us know what was happening in the body. That gentleman that I shared with you that wanted to go natural and his family wanted him to do the medical treatment, he was scanned every few months too. But it really helped us see what was actually happening with the tumors in his body. And that's more important when the tumors are everywhere versus one spot. Right? If it's in one spot, ultrasounds are awesome. But if it's everywhere, then yeah, that's just my preference. I like to know what's happening, but then there's always the recovery from the radiation from that too. But what I found with having the scans regularly is that if things are getting out of control and we're seeing growth, I know to up the protocol. And that's one of the only ways to really know whether the growths are continuing, right? Hopefully one day we'll have alternative, more natural. Yeah. Any other questions?
One thing that I think is helpful when the patients can see stuff, I actually measure like the 2-hydroxy, the 4-hydroxy, and the 16-alpha hydroxy, see where their estrogens are metabolizing to. And when a patient can see it, a lot of times you can pick that up. If their 4-hydroxys are going through the roof, they may have no cancer diagnosis, but they're headed for a problem. And it gets them to be compliant in, doing all the things that help you clear them in proper channels.
I think that's brilliant. I don't know if in Canada, if they do those without, do you know, Melanie, if they do those testing? I don't know that it's covered by our normal.
It probably
the only place I've seen those is through the Dutch.
Yeah. Through the saliva testing,
Or
which
the
really,
urine.
or the urine. Yeah.
Meridian Valley is a 24-hour urine. So it's going to measure all your cortisol, cortisone, 7 metabolites, progesterone, DHEA, testosterone, all metabolites. It's very, very, very thorough. And
yes,
you can head things up too before they actually have a diagnosis.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if they have, we see a lot of young girls right now with a lot of estrogen dominant, carrying a little bit of extra weight, polycystic breasts. We're seeing a lot of polycystic ovaries with young girls, endometriosis. Like, the amount of infertility I get requested to help with is just mind blowing. And I think there's some protective things that we should be teaching our female clients throughout the year, seasonal detox, helping them eat certain foods like the brassicas or the cruciferous vegetables, which are natural sources of indole 3-carbinol and dim as well. So there's good, like there's things that we can do to help support. But yeah, so for us here, Chris, that is out of pocket. So Dutch testing, saliva testing, there's a few different ones that we can do. Those are out of pocket, and they're fairly expensive.
Yeah.
And the worst part is not doing it the first time, it's that we have to do it again to see if what we're doing is making an improvement. Yeah. Is it covered by your extended plans down there? No, so it's out of pocket there too.
Always out of pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. So we do have naturopaths and stuff. I used to do saliva hormone testing in my clinical practice, but I just found it really challenging to get it to the lab on time or have them not leave it in the back of their car for an afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a lot of work. Yeah. Great. So we are going to move into the assignments for this final part. Let me just open them up. So for my face is in the way. I'm trying to see what I'm doing here. Okay, perfect. So this one is a cancer prevention program. So writing a personal cancer prevention program or a program for your clients using the cancer prevention techniques that we discussed, like home, diet, lifestyle. Using the information and cancer prevention strategies discussed throughout this course, what prevention strategies can you implement personally in order to reduce your chances of developing? And that can include things like what would be the risk factors, environmental, hereditary, supplements, herbals, lifestyle, diet. And the assignment should be 3 to 5 pages. It can be longer if necessary. The idea of the assignment is to be able to share this as a handout to give your clients, okay? So it can be long, but it's really teaching from that preventative perspective. And it is more like an essay, but you can absolutely turn it into like a brochure. Originally, this was a brochure, but then Lynn changed it a little bit so that we could get more details from you on it. Okay, next one. Any questions on this one before we move on?
I do have a question. So
Yeah,
do we
please.
give any reasons to why we do those, or are we just going through all of those and listing good things to do?
I would definitely, what we're looking for is that you can concisely share good information around prevention, either from a personal perspective or from a client perspective. And then again, the goal is that you're going to have something as a tool that you can share. You could even post this like on your blog, that sort of thing. If you wish to include references because you came across some good things, then please feel free to do that as well. And then assignment number 5, which is here, is a book study. Now, Lynn has given you guys a list of books that other students have used. So you can't use the textbook included in the course. So you're looking at continuing to grow. So there is a list of books in the back of your binder, but you'll do a book review on a cancer book of your choice. Please do not do your book review on the course text, as that has already been reviewed. And a book list is provided in section 3 of this binder. If you have any book that is not on the list, that is fine, and we'll actually add it to our list. And you're looking to do 2 to 3 pages typed of your review, just letting us know the key concepts, maybe some of the things that stood out the most to you. Now, once you're assigned, I'm just going to grab the dates here. Once you have completed these 2 assignments, you will be emailed as soon as you submit them. You will be emailed the exam. You have 30 days to complete the exam. The exam is open book. It's a tough one, so definitely make sure you create some space to really work on it. And I'm just looking here to see. Yeah, so all assignments need to be submitted no later than December 31st. So, and the sooner you get the assignments in, the sooner you can get the exam, right? And the exam deadline is January 30th. And then once your exam is marked and you have achieved a appropriate passing grade, then you will receive a certificate showing that you have completed the cancer certification program.
I see in our notes that it says exam submitted by December 31st.
Oh, so
Is
my
that a change?
I'm just gonna look here because I just got, unless she sent you something different than she sent me.
It can happen.
Well, I am not the most organized of people. That's why I have Lynn. She keeps me, okay, so here we go. So my form says assignment submitted by December 31st. Oh gosh, you know what? Sorry. That was the wrong year. Yes, so let me look. Stop share. She did send it to me. I printed it. It's just don't know where it is. Okay. Found it. Okay, so I'll share it here. Come on. I think my computer's getting tired.
Ready for a weekend.
Yeah. Here we go. Okay, so we are November 4th. So, yep, all assignments must be submitted by November 30th. You're correct. Exam submitted by December 31st. So, couple weeks, get those through. And if you need more time, let us know. I know Lynn's usually pretty flexible, but be really nice. Start of the new year, you'll be completely done and ready to add this in.
So, Alisa, I have a
Yes.
challenge. I'm traveling for 2 weeks in November and for 2 weeks in December.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
So I'm gonna be like behind big time. Like that's why I'm fumbling all the patients in as much as they can before I leave.
Of course. Yeah.
So I may need an extension by January, maybe, if it's possible.
Send Lynn, she's in charge of all of that. So just send Lynn an email letting her know your travel dates, and then she'll give you new dates to get both your assignments. Let her know that you need to have a new date for your assignment and for your exam as well.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna stop the recording.